In today's video, we're tackling a concept that affects everyone, everywhere, yet remains shrouded in complexity and often misunderstanding. It's a force powerful enough to erode the value of your money, influence global economic policies, and shift the dynamics of the financial markets. This force is known as inflation. At its core, inflation is the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and, subsequently, purchasing power is falling. But it's far more than just prices going up. Inflation is an indicator of the health of an economy, a tool for policy, and a guard against recessions, but also a potential precursor to economic hardship if left unchecked. So, how do we measure this elusive force? The most common yardstick is the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. The CPI tracks the cost of a basket of goods and services over time, providing a snapshot of how much more expensive or cheaper living has become. This basket can include anything from the bread in your supermarket, the gas in your car, to the rent for your apartment. But inflation wasn't always well understood, and its history is filled with moments of learning, sometimes the hard way. Take the hyperinflation in the Weimar Republic of Germany post-World War I, where prices doubled every few days, or Zimbabwe in the late 2000s, where inflation peaked at an almost incomprehensible 79.6 billion% month-over-month. These extreme cases, while not common, underscore the importance of managing inflation. Moving on to the types of inflation we encounter, they are primarily categorized into demand-pull inflation, cost-push inflation, and built-in inflation. Demand-pull inflation occurs when the demand for goods and services exceeds their supply in an economy. It can be likened to too many dollars chasing too few goods, a phenomenon often seen in rapidly growing economies. Cost-push inflation, on the other hand, happens when the costs of production for goods and services rise, pushing up prices. This can result from increases in wages or raw materials costs, such as oil. Lastly, built-in inflation is the result of a vicious cycle where workers demand higher wages to keep up with rising costs of living, and businesses then pass on those costs to consumers in the form of higher prices, leading to further inflation. Each type of inflation has its causes, from monetary policies set by central banks like changing interest rates or adjusting the amount of money in circulation to fiscal policies from the government involving taxation and spending. Even global events like wars, pandemics, and natural disasters can trigger inflationary pressures by disrupting supply chains and altering demand. Understanding inflation is crucial not just for economists or policymakers but for everyone. It affects how much your money can buy tomorrow, influences your investment returns, impacts wages, and can dictate both national and global economic policy. As we proceed, we'll delve into the causes of inflation in more detail, examine its effects on the economy, savings, wages, and businesses, and explore how it's managed by governments and central banks around the world. We'll also discuss strategies for protecting your purchasing power and investments against inflation. So stay tuned as we unravel the complexities of inflation, providing you with the knowledge to navigate its impacts on your financial well-being. Let's now explore the causes of inflation in more detail. Inflation can be spurred by various factors, but at its heart, it's often about balance or the lack thereof between demand and supply. Monetary policy plays a pivotal role. Central banks, like the Federal Reserve in the United States, manage the economy's money supply and interest rates. When a central bank injects more money into the economy, it increases the amount of money available to spend. This can boost demand, but if supply doesn't keep up, prices rise. Conversely, by raising interest rates, central banks can cool off an overheated economy, slowing down borrowing and spending, and hence inflation. Fiscal policy involving government spending and taxation also affects inflation. High government spending without an equivalent increase in taxes can increase demand across the economy, pushing prices up. Tax cuts can have a similar effect, leaving individuals and businesses with more money to spend. Supply and demand shocks are another cause. Sudden increases in oil prices, natural disasters, or geopolitical events can disrupt supply chains, reducing the supply of goods and services while demand remains the same or increases, leading to higher prices. Global events, including wars, pandemics, and natural disasters, can lead to significant inflationary pressure. They often cause both supply disruptions and changes in demand, which can push prices up rapidly. Now, on to the effects of inflation. The most direct effect of inflation is that it erodes purchasing power. If inflation is at 3%, a $100 item today will cost $103 next year. Over time, this effect can significantly impact how much your money can buy. For savers and investors, inflation is a silent threat. The real value of savings decreases over time if the interest earned is less than the inflation rate. For example, if your savings account pays 2% interest but inflation is 3%, you're effectively losing purchasing power each year. Inflation also impacts wages and employment. In moderate amounts, inflation can stimulate economic activity and reduce unemployment. However, high inflation can lead to uncertainty and make long-term planning difficult for businesses, potentially slowing economic growth and increasing unemployment. Businesses face their own set of challenges with inflation. They may see their costs of production rise, which can squeeze profit margins if they're unable to pass these costs on to consumers. Inflation can also make long-term planning and investment more risky and complex. Managing inflation is a delicate balancing act for central banks and governments. Central banks can use tools like adjusting interest rates and altering the money supply to keep inflation at a target level, usually around 2% to 3% in many economies. Governments can adjust their spending and tax policies to avoid overheating the economy. But what about hyperinflation? Hyperinflation is inflation at an extremely high and typically accelerating rate, often exceeding 50% per month. It can destroy the value of currency, savings, and economic stability, leading to dire consequences for a country's population. Looking to the future, predicting inflation involves monitoring a wide range of economic indicators, from wage growth and unemployment rates to global events and central bank policies. Technological advancements and the growing role of digital currencies also present new challenges and opportunities for managing inflation. As we wrap up, remember that inflation is a complex, multifaceted phenomenon with wide-reaching effects. Understanding inflation is crucial for financial planning, investment decisions, and even day-to-day spending. By staying informed and proactive, you can better navigate the challenges and opportunities inflation presents. Thank you for joining me in this deep dive into inflation. I encourage you to keep learning, stay curious, and take charge of your financial future. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more investment insights. Happy investing!